Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the most Terran player out there. In the blue, it's Micro Jackson, ByuN. Up against the Protoss, quickly becoming my favorite to watch, the Surgeon in the red, Nightmare. A best of 3 Terran versus Protoss, and ByuN starting things off like only true Terrans know how, with the barracks far more than halfway across the map and a Reaper already in production, which means, of course, we have so little time for me to beg you for likes. If you haven't made it there yet, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? Yeah, we're still just doing one more. 1,366 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways, but thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a little bit better than these probes, which are forced to run away from the Reaper. He didn't Reaper wall, and now maybe regretting it a bit, though this map very hard to do so. But he just walked a Zealot across, and on this side of the map, ByuN got a little greedy. He left space for his add-on, and now he's going to have to be subtracting some SCVs. The Zealot gets 1 kill. The Reaper got 1 probe. The SCV's mineral walking through, but actually retargets a lot of those SCVs badly bruised, bearing marks of that Zealot's work. The factory was delayed. He actually moved the factory into position. So even if he wanted to put an add-on, he now has to move it. So Nightmare, I think, getting the better end of this exchange, as the Proxy Reaper has only gotten a single probe kill. Nightmare already has his Nexus completed. And the Zealot was able to delay the factory and get some SCV kills alongside a full scout. So if he's able to chase down the Reaper with the Shade... Oh, lost a little motivation there. Can't see as much in the dark, but overall, a good start for Nightmare, diffusing the proxy barracks situation pretty quickly. And now, Phase 2, Cyclone. There is no shield battery. There's about to be a second Stalker, which is very important in dealing with this, as a single Stalker at a depth can easily be kited into oblivion by the Cyclone. But Reaper Grenade makes it so the Stalkers can't quite chase it down. There's actually a Robo done here. Instead of opting for the more customary words. What do they even mean? Instead of opting for the more customary Twilight Council, he's opted for the Robo. Not even a Stargate, but just straight into the Robo, expecting some sort of ground-based follow-up. Otherwise, why build Immortals? Gets in, spots the Robo, and finally, the Reaper will be taken out by the Adept. But most notably here, Cloak Banshee on the way. Definitely an odd choice for ByuN, but going to work out, as even though there's a Robo, there was no Observer produced. Every second counts here for both sides. ByuN's gonna hide the Banshee, as keeping it away from Nightmare, even if it could help defend this attack, well, revealing the potential for a Banshee will severely reduce the chances of it doing any real damage on the other side of the map. Bunker being produced. Siege tank on the high ground, and gets in, spots the starport with the tech lab. There's an observer on the way. And now we're in quite a weird spot. That Zealot's work may help this. Well, the Adept gets a SCV or 2. Just one, I think. But the Cloak Banshee, there is still the Observer. No blink on these Stalkers. He's actually going to take the Banshee out. 5 probes dead. Nightmare still plummeting to a 4 probe lead, which, with mules involved, Immortal drop, blast through the siege tank, and can potentially just dodge the Stalker hits. He's juggling his way out of the Banshee hits with middling success. It definitely could have gone better there. He took a lot of damage and lost a Stalker, but knocks out a siege tank. That Cyclone can't really risk getting too close because a single Immortal hit will blast it. Maybe a little bit more than 1. I'm not sure how much HP it has. I think it's going to take 2 hits, but still. Takes out another SCV. And Nightmare keeping control of the situation, but that is indeed a Viking. He wants to juggle. It's too late now. Okay, well, that was just... No, that was sad. Oh, he lost the Immortal. Oh, my. Well... That was a... Maybe not a disaster, but certainly at least a concern there. Losing the War Prism. He was trying to juggle the Immortal and Stalker into the Prism and then recall them out. But the Prism didn't quite get close enough and then everyone died. So, not the ideal follow-up there. But a Dark Shrine is on the way. I think ByuN may be overestimating how much Nightmare has at home and his willingness to tech. Because the Robo usually means they transition quickly into Colossi. But Nightmare has swerved to the Dark Templar. He's sprinted to the other side of the tech tree. Or at least mostly the other. I think Stargate would be the entire other side, but I digress. He got charged, and now has a Dark Shrine completed. His own flavor of cloak here, the permanent kind, though unfortunately they cannot fly. Another cloak Banshee comes in. Shield battery will defend the probes, but not quite in position to cover the entire mineral line. No blink yet, but working on it. Observer taken out, using a scan to do so, which may actually line up a timing for the Dark Templar to get damage done. Has he spotted the Dark Shrine? He has not. Will ByuN notice the DTs before they actually get into the base? It doesn't appear so. He only has one scan ready, and now the DT is going to be an absolute nightmare for ByuN. Oh, the third command center. Still got 8 SCV kills and 2 scans out of it. So, I'd call that a win. Overall, both these players just poking at each other. And taking surprising routes down the tech tree path. ByuN just now getting stim, combat, shield, and +1 to complete that triple threat. It's 8 minutes in. They've just been slapping each other for 8 minutes straight here, and only now getting over that 100 supply mark. There are builds that max out before 9 minutes for Terran and Protoss. It's a little more difficult than Zerg, but this has certainly been a more aggressive early game, considering how little overall damage has been done. Nightmare with a whole bunch of charge lots waiting to jump onto that third, maybe take advantage of ByuN trying to set that location up. He's got the siege tanks on the high ground. There's no shield battery at the natural. The Stalkers blink in, trying to intimidate the Banshee. Spots the Templar archives, researching Storm. Nightmare in love with that psionic Storm lately, and I definitely appreciate it. But does he have time to get there? There's no Ghost Academy for ByuN. And, well, that statement was true when I started the sentence. By the time I ended it, well, not so much. Ghost Academy begins, but Storm will be completed by the time any ghosts are on the field. Warp Prism, Templar. Notably here for Nightmare, no 4. Okay, come on, guys. Forge begins as upgrades quite lacking for Nightmare. He's sunk all his gas into this tech and making sure he has both flavors of Templar. Technically, you can make Archons out of Dark Templar and High Templar with the new progressive faction in 2010 with StarCraft 2. They allowed that. But rarely is it seen, as usually you're picking one for one reason or another. But no Archons here. The Storm will be the choice. I'll see how ByuN fights against it. Nightmare going to try to break the location. At least thinking about it. He's got a 4th Nexus on the way. The Chew Toy Depot's out in front of 4 siege tanks. Those Vikings already stripping the shields away from the Warp Prism and the Sensor Tower, giving advance warning as ByuN knows anything nearby. But at the same time, there's an observer number 3 spotted and shot down, costing a scan every time. But well worth it to keep Nightmare from having that sort of intel. He knows the map is dark, full of turns. Trying to light it up is the most important thing at this stage of the game. 1-1 upgrades on the way, but ByuN, Armory, Ghosts, and we're on Ghost River, so that has to be some sort of advantage. Home field. Another observer take it? How many observers have died? 4. Well, no reason to stop building them. I'd say it's well worth it if you can get a scan every time. It's when they start using EMPs to take them down is when it's probably no longer reaching cost efficient. Another observer, this one further out. Still getting the relevant info, whether ByuN's moving out of the base. So, Nightmare. Whoa! Storm drop. Kills. 2 SCVs. So, not ideal. Did he also lose the Warp Prism? He did. So, even less not ideal. Which doesn't feel like it had a lot of wiggle room in that statement, but we'll try it. ByuN's 4th base landing. Planetary Fortress is on the way. The Templar. Nightmare boxing out for him. Making sure those ghosts can't get cloak. His trademark move recently is keeping control of the situation and limiting the potential of the ghosts, which is quite difficult to do, but... Oh, another army gets shaved down. Nightmare drops 40 supply quickly. A very angry Zealot takes out a 2nd siege tank up there. And Nightmare warps in another round. He's got 12 gateways completed. He's now got 76 probes, which is relatively low. Well, was he actually going to make a Nexus up there? You know what? Why not? Forward Nexus, forward recall, overcharge. I'd love to see it. I think he was just going for a pylon, though. Oh my god, he actually is expanding. He's going to expand to the other side of the map. There really aren't that many bases here. 5 CCs at a time. ByuN, you're not maxed out. You know that, right? He doesn't care. All right. He spends minerals like they're going out of style. He'll get them back later with mules, even though that's not really how that works. But Zealot's taken down. Nightmare coming in with another wave. To play this sort of Zerglot style, you need way more minerals. You don't just need more minerals, way more minerals. More Ys than are really appropriate for formal conversation. So at least 1 to 2 more bases. So far, Nightmare has mined 2,000 more minerals, but he's lost 4K. But this is just the beginning. He's another Nexus on the way, only 12 gates. Slapping down cannons and shield batteries. Doesn't want them too stacked up, because then EMP and the concentrated DPS can take him down. But feedbacks on the Ghosts and the Medivacs, making this army a lot more vulnerable than it would be without removing those support units. I've noticed Nightmare prioritizes feedback a lot more than most other Protoss. Well, most other Protoss aren't even building High Templar in this matchup because Ghosts are very scary. But Nightmare fighting directly against them. The medevac count, though, is damn high. 2-2 done for ByuN. 3-2 on the way for Nightmare, but not quite there yet. The Storms! The historical and active counter to Vikings. He keeps the Prism alive, and the Templar will ward away the rest of the army. Big Zealot counterattack lined up. That base is done. He has super pylons there to warp in quickly, and he can technically recall there as well if he wants to try to outmaneuver the army. Much cheaper than a mothership, a Nexus. More Vikings on the way, but Nightmare's coming in with a massive Zealot surround, which ByuN will gun down. Yes, well, that was... He dropped how to drop 50 supply in seconds. Templar, EMP. Doesn't quite dodge it. Nightmare, the mistiming costs him a few dozen Zealots. And now... Storm, he's got Templar all over the place. But at this rate, they're going to be very temporary. More Templar coming out of the Prism. But that's a lot of Ghosts with plenty of energy for EMP. Spots more Templar coming in. Drops the EMPs on top. Actually manages some Storms. Charge lots. And the Medivacs are entirely out of energy. I don't know if they caught an EMP. How does he turn this? I need to go back. I need to see what happened here exactly. No, he's just been stimming so much and the Storms have been whittling it down. And the Templar forcing those heals. Every stim is draining so much energy. Yeah, he's not EMPing his own Medivacs. He's just needs to go to rehab. Well, not if you're dead, I guess. The Medivacs are complete. He has 8 Medivacs and they're completely out of energy. Wow. Nightmare fighting this war of attrition. The key part is he starts fighting ByuN on his side of the map, so that way he can chase him to the other side. If you start fighting with your back against the wall, pops him with the feedback, the Templar causing the brain to literally explode. I assume that's what's happening there when that happens. Whatever implants they got up there, just... And right now, my brain is at risk of literally exploding if Nightmare keeps playing at this level. There's a single... He's gonna think it's a pylon or a zealot. He's gonna come here and surprise an entire nexus with cannons and all the like. But Liberators on the way. Is there a fusion core for advanced ballistics? There is not. But Mass Liberator is the choice. There are currently 6 orbital commands, so scanned. Venn diagram scan in the center. Observers being taken out. 8 observers and 112 zealots have died. Not really the same thing, but kind of gives you the gist of what's going on here. Choke point. Zoning planetary from ByuN. The Venn diagram of freedom is locking down the southern base, but he still doesn't know that Nightmare has the Nexus down there. All the bases are taken. Once again, so few on this map. ByuN 5 bases is all he has access to at the moment until he clears out the southern side, assuming we get there. The beacon is lit as Nightmare calls for potentially Tempest Mothership. If I know Nightmare, oh, it's definitely Tempest. Nightmare the Surgeon, he's not going to rely on the ham-fisted carrier. Somehow the Warp Prism lives. Even though a strong gust of wind would knock it out, it's still intact for now. Blinks forward. There's one High Templar with full energy up on the north side, but EMP wipes out so much of the Stalker's effectiveness. Another wave comes in from that badly bruised prism. Oh, Templar feedback onto the Ghost. Another blink. And using the Storm to zone things out. The Liberators can't quite seem to find the angle. The supply, I don't know where ByuN's supply is. He has 84 SCVs, which is arguably too many right now. That means his army supply still 111. But a lot of it seems to be tied up, and a lot of it is in production at the moment. Like 15, 20 supply. Ship weapons level 2. A very important breakpoint that allows you to 2-shot Stalkers or 1-shot after EMP. Though I'm not sure. There are shield upgrades and armor. That might change it a bit. Usually you don't see that sort of interaction. But the Templar and the Prism still somehow alive. The Planetary Fortress will finally be taken down. The Storm's beautiful. It knocks out the Planetary. ByuN is starting to run out of minerals. Nightmare has plenty in the bank. He's only got 12 gates. But he's warping in 12 zealots at a time on a regular basis. The fusion core. ByuN's mined out of the natural. This many mules and you mine out of bases pretty quick. ByuN may literally start running out of gas. And 2 Colossi added in. The Viking count's still damn high. I think he wanted to juggle the Colossi, but there's no more Templar. There's no more splash damage, which means Nightmare is in trouble town here. A single Colossus and some unshielded Stalkers? He's stimming, and indeed he's winning, though that Colossus is getting as much damage as it possibly can. Those medevacs still very low on energy. I want to see Caduceus Reactor ByuN. If it was Gumio, he would have already researched it. But Caduceus Reactor, and he's mining the gas. Nightmare is mining the gas from the bottom left base. He's 3/4 of the way to the 4 corners bingo strategy that we all know is most key in both Bronze League heroes and at the highest level. And I want to point something else out. These observers! He just lost 1 more of them. He had one over here. The observers. He has now lost 9 observers, but he's got 2 in such critical locations. Exactly where ByuN wants to move. He can narrow down... How do you not see this, ByuN? Oh, he saw the base. He's just not dealing with it. He's going forward. He's not bothering with this next... There's a whole ass nexus. The scans... ByuN activates high APM map hacks, as he can literally see everything. All he has to do is press the scan button to do so, but he didn't see the Templar out in front. Eats a big storm. Vikings knock out a Colossus. But, oh, okay, he did deal with this. There are three Liberators. That'll do it. ByuN on the way to reclaim this base. Though not quite done with it yet. Nuclear missile just completed. Wait, did he accidentally get a nuke? Ah, he canceled it to get cloaked. He meant cloaked. So Nightmare is playing that technical precision style. Void Ray. One Void Ray to deal with it. There's the Caduceus reactor. He went for advanced ballistics first. I'll allow it. I'm disappointed, but I get it. This many Liberators. Oh my god. No Tempest on the way. Nightmare building Disruptors, which is an interesting transition at this stage. He still only has one Stargate. I'm not sure what the Fleet Beacon was for. In that case, a single Void Ray out here. Nightmare now in a precarious position. The ghost count is damn high. 13 ghosts. Vikings also have, I mean, +2 ship weapons is already done. He's gonna try. He still has the High Templar in the War Prism. Does he? He didn't get War Prism speed? Oh no! Gets one High Templar out. Gets a big storm. The Disruptor's on the field, but the Liberators are already here to deal with it. Disruptor shot hits literally just one Zealot, which, you know, describes Disruptors pretty well. And now that nuke is on the way. 11 probes dead, but Nightmare does not have much time to drag himself out of this situation. A single Void Ray. He cleared it up. He's still... Somehow Nightmare still has this base. ByuN has not sent anything down to deal with this. ByuN is scanning the main, looking for the big Tempest or carrier switch. He realizes in the bottom right corner, Nightmare mostly mined out of the base, but not quite there yet. That means he's going to be losing some more probes. Finally dealing with this. Storms are good, but with medevacs there, point-blank Disruptors, doesn't quite land the hits, finds a couple. But Nightmare does not have the income to sustain this. He's lost 13 probes now. Not that he... Well, I guess he has that center base, which he's not really mined from at all. But ByuN is starting to close in. There's not that much map to work with. There's just so many Liberators. He's going up to 15 Liberators. Oh my. Popping probes. Nightmare warps in some Zealots. He's got very limited runway here. He needs to get something done. He's trying to deal with these Liberators. But he was working off of a superior income. But now that ByuN has retaken, well, he's taken out bases, he's knocked down the probe count, and he's retaken his side as well. Nightmare's less effective unit composition is just not going to cut it. He's lost 12,000 more minutes, 177 Zealots. The Liberators are just zoning out too much. Nightmare has bled out too many units. I think ByuN is closing in. And unless one of these Disruptors gets an absolute dream hit, and even then, the Liberators are just locking it down. Yeah, that... Oh. 80 supply gap. ByuN has survived. I really thought with Nightmare having that base in the bottom left, it almost made him too ambitious with those gateway-based armies. But now, the desperation shots out of the Disruptors. A few beautiful storms, but the fights just didn't quite go his way. And ByuN. Well, it's all over, but 2 Gs in a row. He's got zoning missile turrets. ByuN still has enough income to continue building these Liberators. Nightmare didn't actually take the base in the center for quite a while, and now may be regretting that. He just ran out of steam. I'm still kind of a bit confused about the Fleet Beacon. He got the Fleet Beacon, but never found any air upgrades. I think, therefore I am. But also, it seemed like he had an opportunity to break through and potentially take down ByuN's economy. So he leaned into the gateway units, but ByuN pushed right back. There's nothing left here. Nightmare fighting to the end. Disruptor hit a bunch of units there. GG in both flavors. And ByuN takes game 1. Looked like he really wasn't respecting Nightmare's position. But eventually he built the Ghost Liberator composition that terrorizes and tyrannizes every... Well, even in I guess the Ghosts aren't as good in Terran versus Terran, because you wouldn't want a unit to be so good against Terran, but... Just wasteful. I think Nightmare just missing some of the key upgrades there. ByuN not letting him ever make the progress he needed, and he just ran out of bases. Like, you run out of bases so quick. The average map has 7 or 8 bases aside. Some of the craziest ones have had like 9 or maybe a contested 9th base. Ghost River has 6, which you can really feel quickly. And Nightmare was playing like an 8-base style on a 6-base map. But aren't we all nowadays? Aren't we all? Shrinkflation affects everyone, including Protoss players. Well, ByuN takes game 1, but we always play more than that. Game 2 will be on El Cajon. Whichever pronunciation upsets the most people. I like El Cajon. All right. I'm not sure if that's entirely correct, but I feel very fancy saying it, so I've claimed it. I do wonder what prompted the switch to Disruptors over Tempest. And he even got the Fleet Beacon and then did nothing with it. ByuN puts the door up in his face. Yeah, wouldn't you guys like having doors? We have real fake doors. Was that a tech lab? I believe Nightmare saw the Marine pop out. An important fact. But a tech lab on the way. It's just straight up concussive shell Marauder. Gonna try to catch and kill that first Adept. What a spicy play. Not a proxy Rex, not some sort of all-in. Though it could easily lead into one. But instead, just straight up Marauder. Also, that means ByuN will have even more encouragement to go straight into Stim Marines. Which, that last game was probably the extent of non-Stim Marine gameplay we'll see. It took like 8.5 minutes to get Stim done, which I'm sure was very painful for him. Nightmare's kind of hiding the Twilight Council on the low ground. He's got the Reaper blocking pylon, though there is no Reaper. Of course, you can't know that as he builds the first pylon. The Adept at the what? Did you not see? No! Oh, my knees! There's a moment. Oh, he didn't quite nail it. If you do it perfectly, they can't get vision. Like, if he had managed to block them out at the very edge, they can't get in to actually see the Adept, at least from that angle. And that would have bought the time to get out. But now ByuN is just walking across with 2 Marauders and a Marine. Like, he can't keep getting away with it. Like, that one Marine adding a lot here when it comes to killing probes. The shield battery, he had to work with the pylon he had. So, well, gonna kill 4 probes. It does cost 2 Marauders. Even though that was dangerous and quite annoying, I'm not convinced that was worth it. Because, like, killing 1 Adept and 4 probes, and the Adept was a bit of a gimme, but... And now, what does he have? How many units? 1 Marauder, 4 Marines, and a couple mines. Blink will be done momentarily. Will Nightmare react in time? Oh, that was close. But now that he's seen them, now that he has time to line up the blinks, ByuN setting up a Widow Mine drop. He sends the rest of the mines out. Blinks out of the way. Slick moves by Nightmare. Loads up the bunker. Stalker takes some real hits here. Blinking. Okay, all right. That's a bit much. Well. Oh no, ByuN! ByuN, select all army key, almost certainly there. A bit of a uncharacteristic mistake, and what seems like a panic. Did he really think he needed those 2 Widow Mines back at home to defend? I don't think so. And now Nightmare has the information. He saw that medevac, and in fact the medevac is out of boost. It's a disaster! He can blink out, and he can deal with the mines. ByuN. Some unforced errors here. Taken full advantage of by Nightmare. And now ByuN in a very awkward spot. Does he have a 3rd command center? He does not. I could just look at the base as well, but deals with the 2nd mine. No 3rd command center, so he's locked in to this 2 base. He picks up into 2 medevacs. And, well, he's headed towards the main. But there's only a narrow set of options now for ByuN. Now that he's lost the mine drop, he lost the early map control. He needs to keep Nightmare busy. And, well, busy at the very least. Ideally, getting critical damage here, but that seems optimistic, considering Nightmare knows that ByuN is stuck on these 2 bases. And ByuN is also, and this is true, ByuN. And he's going to try to drop the main. That is his default state. Now, the Immortal Shield Battery overcharge is... It's enough. Barely. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Well, that could have gone much worse for ByuN. He gets the Immortal, and he gets out with most of his units in both medevacs. So that is best case scenario. But unfortunately, the Colossus is already on the field. Which means probably more than he can contend with. 4 medevacs. He's got plenty of Marauders. Nightmare has 5 gates. He's managing his production. It's an art form. It's a boring kind of spreadsheet-based art form, but an art form nonetheless is picking out your gateway timings to make sure you have enough units to outright defend without over-making gateways and delaying, well, pretty much everything else. Let's see if Charge. Charge is done. Chasing the Observer. Stims a bunch of Marines just to try to chase it down. At least he didn't stim the Marauders too, I guess. Forge starts. Obviously, he knows where these units are. Aggressive defense from Nightmare. He saw the 3rd base being built with another Observer. Ghost Academy and Vikings on the way. Extended Thermal Lance is now done, but still not bringing the Colossi down. Oh, they'll be spotted by the scan. There's no stopping that. 4th base for Nightmare, who's been quite stingy on the probe production. At 63 probes, not building any more at the moment. Multiple Vikings. The Vikings serve a pretty utilitarian purpose, whether it's taking out Colossi, gunning down prisms. Not terrible on the ground either. Ghosts on the way. ByuN, well, in the last game, I would say Nightmare definitely had the edge at multiple times. He just wasn't quite able to cut through with it. Here, Nightmare also slightly ahead in terms of tech and production, but ByuN is comfortably building up, and he didn't seem to be too hasty about expanding in the previous game either, and it still worked out just fine for him. But remember, I blame that a little bit on the map. The sheer, the lack of alternative routes of attack. The inability to really drag your opponent out of position because there just isn't that much position to drag to. Is part of why Nightmare's War of Attrition style didn't work as well. He doesn't have Storm this time. He's gone straight for the more conventional Robo Bay, Colossi, even getting some Disruptors now. I assume he has 3 Colossi? Yeah. That's usually the number. Enough to incinerate Marines and do real damage to Marauders without being a liability against Vikings. The Vikings looking to intercept a warp prism. Just kind of idling over in the right flank. +1 infantry armor completed. Armory on the way. ByuN holding the watchtower down. Observer will spot the army. Nightmare's observers have been top-notch. ByuN has tried to deal with them, but it hasn't been enough. Oh, he's scared. Yeah. Well, that observer, that disruptor shot came out of nowhere. He knew the observer was there, but the shot comes through. And ByuN loses almost half his army in a single disruptor shot. Nightmare manages to slip one through with the shield battery overcharged, keeping the Raptors intact. And now ByuN's down 20 supply. The Zealot counterattack was shut down by the reinforcements of ByuN. But Nightmare now... Nightmare now. Working his way through the rocks. Has map control. He has the army. He can swing this army around and force ByuN to react to him. Gotta be a little careful of where you decide to put it exactly. But with fully extended thermal lances, you demand respect. If you would. More Raptors. Feels like ByuN not quite adapting to the Raptor style. As he was probably expecting this from. He got the Ghost Academy so early, which is good, but it doesn't stop those Purification Novas. As the Stalkers are just bullying forward. Disruptor shot force field is something. No, Planetary is done. 5 Disruptors. Most off cooldown. More EMPs. Colossi. Only a couple Vikings left. The Stalkers have been doing a good job. The Planetary is done, but targeting the Vikings. Down to 1. Now those 2 Colossi. Fadeaway shot. Nightmare maintaining a 40 supply lead. ByuN will have 2-2 done in about a minute, but that's a long minute with this many Disruptors knocking down, well, knocking on and down the door like a battering ram. He fires off a Disruptor from the back line. He's manually choosing the Disruptors that are further back, at least for the most part. And he almost manages to get a hit. I think that's how he got one before. So, units, by default, will cast from the nearest location. Like, if you click 10 Disruptors and fire on a location with just one, it will be whichever Disruptor is closest. You have to manually cast it from the Disruptors in the back, if that's what you're going for. But these shots, he pops all the Raptors before they can connect. But the Colossi getting distracted by the Planetary. Disruptor shot forces him back up the ramp. The Planetary is holding. ByuN about to finish 2-2. 10 seconds. Very important for this fight. The medevacs are starting to be drained on energy. A lot of those Marauders badly bruised here. The Colossi doing great work. The siege will continue. The thermal lances scratching the paint on the Planetary, but still forcing the issue. Another round warped in. Nightmare has the economy to do so. The Disruptor's still going to work. He tries to split the difference with the Raptors. Deals with the reinforcements. Some of the Zealots getting caught on the Planetary. Disruptor shot around the corner. Clips a couple SCVs. And Nightmare is keeping the pressure on. If ByuN makes one mistake, a Purification Nova will make sure he's not able to make another. So that Planetary still holding the line, but Nightmare has not been skimping on his back row behind. He's now maxed out. How many gateways? 14 gateways. And ByuN can't seem to get out from under it. The Vikings are targeted down. The EMP comes through, but the Disruptors have nearly point-blank range. Fires them off to the ramp. The Planetary still drawing a lot of fire. Literally and figuratively, the Zealot's coming through. The Planetary has 14 kills, but it's done so much damage. The Disruptor shot, and he just dodges and pops the rest. And the Colossi, the absolutely overpriced squirrels they are, getting distracted by the Planetary, it seems, every second. You don't individually micro them. The existence of the Planetary is really making this difficult, but ByuN doesn't have any other bases. Another Disruptor shot the most dangerous force field. He fires one all the way through, loses another Raptor. The Planetary, the medevacs are completely out of energy. They're actually wandering forward into the fight, but ByuN micros them back. And that Planetary has absorbed so much damage. Oh, I'd love to know how much he spent on repairing it. Repair is only 1/4 of the cost of building, but still. The planetary, again, just dragging so many units into it. And it just won't die. The units will. The flesh is weak and malleable, but the planetary is forever. But Nightmare, well, now ByuN has another base over to the right flank. Some charge lots were warped in and are being sent towards it. So I don't know if ByuN's going to have the reinforcements to defend. Tries to pop a Ruptor, but Nightmare fires the one from the back. Another fadeaway shot. Blinks over to cover the Colossus. And the ghosts are caught out. The charge lots are on the fresh base. ByuN is almost able to kill their 2 Disruptors with a 10% of Disruptor HP between them. But the Ruptors are staying alive and must be respected. ByuN unable to keep his forces between 2 bases. He can only defend 1 at a time. The charge lot's too efficient. 3-2, upgrade advantage for a few more seconds at least for Nightmare. More shots. Disruptors 3-3. And the Disruptors still. He pops more. Disruptor shots. He didn't fire off any extra. Looks for more. Gets a couple Marauders. Medivacs wandering for fadeaway shot. Directly in his face. And that Disruptor may kill the momentum as the charge lots come in. He has the economy at the back. Nightmare still expanding. But the Stalkers are keeping the pressure on. That Colossus is still alive. 28 kills. ByuN is holding the planetary, but he can't get anywhere else. Nightmare is drawing all the attention here. A scan. Yep, there's a zealot there. How many orbitals does he even have? Now at this point, Disruptor shot. He gets a connection. And ByuN. I don't know how much he has left. He warps in a few centuries. He doesn't have a Templar Archives, and he has so much gas and so little minerals. That Colossus, 30 kills. It spent half its time killing the planetary, but at the end of the day, it's been absolutely invaluable. More Ruptors across, sentries warped in. As ByuN cannot, he just can't escape. As Nightmare keeps hammering him on the anvil of the planetary. Is he gonna try to go through the rocks that he just opened up? Why not? I'm surprised he's holding onto his shots for so long, looking for those force fields. I'm not sure about this fight. ByuN was able to take the northern base, but throughout all this, more Colossi. Oh my god, he taps it out. Wait, what? He just taps out? What happened? Did we miss a shot? He just gives up? ByuN's like, no, I can't. I don't think I've really seen a technical knockout. Like, he just gave up. He's like, no, that's enough for me. All right, next round. Wow. Nightmare keeps the pressure on and forces a submission knockout. I don't know what they call it. All right, it's a weird, it's getting weird now, but wow. Well, that's how Nightmare plays RoboBay. Something to behold, indeed. He decided to bring out the robotics bay. He didn't build any sort of Templar. He built both Templars in Game 1 and none of them in Game 2. As Nightmare is all over the tech tree. And now we're on to the decider. What a series, though. Clearly, so closely matched. ByuN style coming up against ByuN's very mobile and adaptable style coming up against Nightmare's figured out technical Protoss. And there's a lot of friction there. That is one of the longest back and forth battles I've ever seen in Terran versus Protoss. A matchup that is usually defined by one moment, one Disruptor shot, one set of EMPs, by one moment deciding the match. But instead, the battle for the planetary fortress, which lasted over a third of the game. And by the way, the planetary lived the entire game. It did not die. ByuN broke before the planetary did. Well, we're going to the side delta. No real predictions here. Nightmare's shown that he's capable of playing both sorts of Protoss. I think that style was much more robust, I guess we'll say, going to the map. I'm a little surprised he didn't go with the Templar again, but not disappointed. Reaper confirmed. He saw the command center as well. I think he saw it on the way out anyways. Probe was trying to sneak in, but ByuN kept the Reaper around, anticipating that. Twilight on the way. If the Reaper jumps up, it won't see it. See, I do wonder why Protoss don't do this more often.
Add-on complete.
Which is put the Twilight so far back you can't actually I don't know if that's like a jumpable location, but the Reaper should not be able to see it even if it jumps up to the cliff, right? Unless am I dumb? So many times we see players just put it right next to the cliff and you get that info. But Nightmare, and now he's still in the dark. Here there be nightmares. Stalker zoning out, and ByuN, well, he knows it's probably Blink, but he doesn't know for sure. And that ambiguity can make all the difference. And Blink is on the way. Starport. Is he gonna go cloak Banshee again? Stalker chasing down, but of course ByuN lands the grenade and it will get away. Cloak Banshee it is. It's going to be Blink Robo, the safest flavor. And ByuN, we don't mind drop coming in. An old build, but it still checks out. With the slight nerfs to the Widowmine radius and the much more obvious targeting line, Widowmines have become significantly less of a menace to the early game mineral lines. Adepts are the exact same amount of menace when you let them into your base. You can't just keep the door open. This isn't Canada. Well, kills 3 SCVs with the Adept that never should have been in there in the first place. Also, I believe, yeah, he scouted the starport with the tech lab upgrading. Observer. ByuN tried to come in with the, well, not the War Prism, the Medevac again, but plenty of stalkers there to deal with it. Banshee cloak completed, but just because he knows it's coming doesn't mean it's going to be it isn't dangerous. The amount of respect you have to give to those Banshees, because even if you have detection, do you have the stalkers there? Do you have a shield battery? Very likely will lose probes unless you're able to intercept the Banshees before they even get to your base. So ByuN, oh, is he pulling the boys? This is, it's just a siege tank time. 2 cloak Banshees. This is an old school sort of just... I mean, we see siege tank timings on a pretty regular basis nowadays, but 2 cloak Banshees, 2 siege tanks, a bunch of unstimmed, uncombat shielded Marines. And Cloaks the Banshees before the Stalkers can get there. Where's the nearest observer? Apparently not close enough. There it is. He can take out one of the Banshees? No, not quite. Tanks will siege. Using that overcharge for all it's worth here. But not worth enough. Gonna target the shield battery. Loses one Banshee. But ByuN land the pressure on. That Nexus under fire. This is not supposed to be a deadly move. He's just trying to find a good position here. There is an observer coming in. Another siege tank on the way. And Nightmare is dismantling it. The Banshee's adding a lot of damage, but the Marine count, he needs to get the Banshees out of there if possible. The Marines will be whittled down. Colossus tiptoeing out. And ByuN, he doesn't have a third command center. He doesn't have any way to really economically pull out of this nosedive. He's committed fully to the 2-base timing. Not even really timing, it's just 2-base in general. And Nightmare won that fight so decisively. Now he has charge. Colossi are so easily... You guys, hello? Hello? No, a little late. Nope. The Colossi and Stalkers scratching at the supply depots and bunker while the charge lots bravely charge forward. Not the ideal scenario. Behind it, though, a cannon and a shield battery. Severely, well, not severely, but somewhat reducing the mining of the mineral line just to be safe. Whatever happened to that Widow Mine drop? Well, the unit's loss tab shows a medevac and 2 Widow Mines, so I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Oh yeah, they're Banshees. So even though there is a cannon, the Stalkers will blanket. They don't quite get them. 6 probes dead. Nightmare still with a 12-worker lead, though. Stim and combat shield about to complete. ByuN can't really afford to sit back in his base, though. The longer this goes on, the harder it's going to get to deal with Nightmare's momentum. Nightmare's already getting a 4th Nexus. In fact, I think ByuN may have to pull the boys here. There's not many options left to him. He has comparable army supply, but very limited time to make use of it. As Nightmare just brought 8 gates online. He's got 2 more on the way. 4th Nexus. So this... Well, some Tacti boys on the way. A Spylon. He's gonna try... Banshee comes in. No real more kills. The location on the cliff overlooking the natural can definitely be a difficult one. Oh, and a probe out here, spotting it all. But time is not on ByuN's side. He does not have another Nexus or even command center on the way. Nightmare's building up. Three Colossi. About to have +2 weapons. ByuN. His siege tank push will continue. Nightmare giving it the respect it actually does deserve. But the Colossi, ooh, taking big hits out of the tanks. Loses one. The Archon's very helpful here. Doesn't quite knock out the second Colossus. And, oh, the Archons are taking too much damage, and GG. Nightmare holds. And ByuN goes down 2-1. Nightmare, again, getting the better of ByuN, proving his competence at this level. I think his Protoss versus Zerg is a bit shaky, but his Protoss versus Terran is quite inspiring at the moment, and showing he has a grasp of all sorts of strategies. Even that game 1, I think he just didn't quite bring it all together, but you could see the plan, the trajectory there. Not scrambling, but instead waiting for his moment. And indeed, he captured it. Rare to see ByuN just tap out with 150 supply, but I think it was deserved. And I hope I deserved your like and potentially subscribe. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But thank you for watching. I hope I made your day. just a little bit better. Make sure to check out Recommended if you ever get the little review thing here on YouTube, where it's like, did you like this video or did you absolutely hate it? Well, be great. Give me the 5 out of 5 smiley faces or whatever. Either way, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.